Level 1. The Runner. You are 19 years old. You live in a small apartment with 3 other men. The apartment is in a city in West Africa. You don't own any of the furniture. You don't own much of anything. Your cousin made a phone call to a man who knew a man. That man told you to be at a certain street corner at a certain time. You showed up. You didn't ask questions. You were given a job. The job is to carry small packages from one location to another. You don't open the packages. You don't ask what's inside. You already know what's inside. Everyone in this part of the city knows what's inside. Rough diamonds. Stones pulled out of the ground by men with shovels and sieves. Their hands have not been clean in years. Some of the stones came from licensed mines. Some came from places where the line between licensed and unlicensed gets blurry. You don't ask which. Asking is not part of your job. Your job is to walk. You walk through markets where vendors sell mangoes and used clothing and pirated DVDs. You walk past police officers who look at you and look away. Someone has already paid them to look away. You walk into a small office above a tailor shop. You hand the package to a man behind a desk. He counts what is inside. He nods. He gives you an envelope of cash. You walk back. You give the envelope to the man who gave you the package in the morning. He counts the money. He hands you a small percentage. That percentage is more than your father made in a week working at a port. Your father broke his back loading containers. He came home every night smelling like diesel and salt. He never owned a watch. You buy your mother a small radio with your first month of pay. She cries when you give it to her. She does not ask where the money came from. She has lived long enough to know better. You are now in the diamond business. You don't fully understand what that means yet. You will find out. Level 2. The Buyer. You learned the routes. You learned the faces. You learned which streets had eyes and which streets did not. After a year of running packages, the man who paid you decided to elevate you. He didn't make a speech about it. He just handed you a different kind of envelope one morning. This one had cash inside. Not your share. Working capital. He told you to go to the digging villages and buy from miners directly. The villages are 6 hours inland on roads that turn to mud during the rainy season. You take a battered Toyota truck driven by a man named Usman. He has been making this trip for 20 years. He never speaks unless he has to. You pass through 3 checkpoints. At each one, the driver hands a folded bill out the window. He never looks at the soldier on the other side. The soldier waves you through. The whole transaction takes less than 20 seconds. You never speak. The villages are clusters of zinc roofs and wooden walls. The miners are men and boys, some as young as 11. They stand knee-deep in muddy water sifting through gravel. Their sieves are made of wire mesh. They work for nothing. They work for the chance that one of those scoops will contain something that changes everything. Most days, it doesn't. You sit on a plastic chair under an awning. The miners come to you one by one. They unfold dirty pieces of cloth. Inside are small stones. Some look like glass. Some look like dirty pebbles. Most of them are worthless or close to it. A few are real. You learn to tell the difference. You hold each stone up to the sunlight. You squint. You turn it. You consider its weight. You consider its color. You consider the man holding it and how desperate he looks. You name a price. The price is always less than the stone is worth, sometimes a lot less. The miner argues weakly. He has no real leverage. He cannot take the stone to the official buyers. The official buyers are 200 kilometers away. He has no way to get there. His name is not on any list, so he sells to you. You pay him in cash. You wrap the stone in tissue paper. You put it in a small leather pouch around your neck. You will return to the city tomorrow with stones that cost you a fraction of what they're worth. You give them to your boss. He gives you another percentage. Once, on the road back, the truck breaks down at dusk. You sit in the cab with Usman for 4 hours waiting for help. You do not turn on the lights. You do not get out. You hold the pouch against your chest the entire time. You learn that night what it means to be afraid in a way that does not show on your face. You are now part of a supply chain that goes places you cannot imagine. Level 3. The Cutter's Apprentice. Your boss saw something in you. Maybe it was your eye for stones. Maybe it was the fact that you never lost a package. Maybe it was the fact that you never asked questions. He sent you to Antwerp. You had never been on an airplane before. You had never been to Europe. The streets there are clean. The lights work all night. The police do not need to be paid to leave you alone. You arrive in winter. The cold is something you did not understand was possible. You are met at the airport by a man with a thick accent. He drives you to a building in the Jewish quarter. The building is unremarkable from the outside. Inside, on the third floor, is a workshop. Men in magnifying loops sit hunched over wheels. The wheels spin at thousands of revolutions per minute. They are cutting diamonds. This is the second half of the business, the half nobody on your side of the world ever sees. You are an apprentice. You are 23 years old. You do not speak the language. The men in the workshop have been doing this for 30 or 40 or 50 years. Some of them learned from their fathers. Some of them learned from their grandfathers. They look at you the way a master craftsman looks at a stray child. You start by sweeping floors. You collect the diamond dust that falls from the cutting wheels. That dust is itself worth money. You make tea. You watch. You watch for months before anyone lets you touch a stone. When they finally do, it is a piece of industrial-grade scrap. It has no real value. It is something you cannot ruin. You spend 3 days trying to put a single facet on it. You ruin the first one. You ruin the second one. The third one is acceptable. The master who has been watching you grunts. That grunt is the highest praise you will receive for a long time. You learn slowly. You learn the geometry of light. You learn that a diamond is not just a stone. A diamond is a problem. The problem is how to release the maximum amount of light from a piece of crystal carbon. The Earth made it under impossible pressure over 1 billion years. The cutter's job is to solve that problem. The wrong cut destroys value. The right cut creates it. The difference between a master and a beginner is enormous. It can be the difference between a stone worth $10,000 and a stone worth $100,000. Your master's name is Yossi. He is 71 years old. His father survived the camps. His grandfather did not. He never asks where you came from. He only cares whether your hands are steady. By the end of your second year, your hands are steady. He tells you so once, on a Friday afternoon, in a single sentence. He never tells you again. He does not need to. Level 4. The Polisher. You have been in Antwerp for 5 years. You speak the language now. Badly, but you speak it. You have your own bench in the workshop. You have your own clients, small ones, but yours. You are no longer the apprentice. You are a polisher. The cutter shapes the stone. The polisher gives it its final brilliance. The cutter creates the architecture. The polisher creates the soul. Polishing is slower than cutting. It requires patience that most young men do not have. You sit at your wheel for 10 hours a day. You hold each stone in a special holder called a dop. You press the stone against a spinning wheel. The wheel is coated with a paste of diamond dust and oil. The only thing that can polish a diamond is another diamond. There is poetry in that, but you are too tired to think about poetry most days. You learn to read each stone individually. Diamonds are not interchangeable. Each one has a grain. Each one has flaws and inclusions and characteristics. The cutter could see some and account for them. Others only reveal themselves under the polishing wheel. Sometimes you discover a flaw that requires you to call the cutter back. The geometry has to change. Hours of work have to be redone. Sometimes you discover something better than expected. A clarity. A fire that surprises everyone in the room. You begin to develop a name. Other workshops hear about you. Brokers ask for stones to be sent to your bench specifically. Your hourly rate goes up. You move out of the apartment your boss arranged for you. You rent your own place. It is small, but it is yours. You send money home to your mother. She uses it to fix the roof on the house where you grew up. She tells the neighbors that her son works with diamonds in Europe. She does not really understand what that means. You are not sure you understand what it means either. But you have a craft now. You have something you can do that almost no one else in the world can do. That is its own kind of wealth. Level 5. The Broker. After 10 years on the polishing wheel, your back is finished. You are 33 years old. You cannot sit hunched over a bench for 10 hours anymore. You lose feeling in your hands by the 3rd hour now. The masters in the workshop saw it coming. They told you about it on your first day. The body breaks down. Almost no one polishes past 40. So they pushed you toward the next thing, brokering. A broker does not cut. A broker does not polish. A broker connects. The diamond business is built on relationships that go back generations. Breaking into those relationships from the outside is almost impossible. But you have something most outsiders do not. You came up through the workshops. The masters know you. They trust you. They will let you take stones on memo. Memo is the trade word for consignment. You take a stone you do not own. You walk it to a buyer. You sell it. You return with the money. You take your commission. You do this hundreds of times a year. You walk the streets of the Diamond District carrying envelopes. Those envelopes are worth more than most apartments in the city. You do not look like you are carrying anything of value. That is intentional. The men who carry millions of dollars in stones look like accountants on their lunch break. The men who look like they are carrying something valuable are the ones who get robbed. You build a book of clients. Jewelers in Paris, wholesalers in New York, family businesses in Tel Aviv, independent designers in Tokyo. Each one has specific needs. One wants only round brilliance of certain dimensions. One specializes in fancy colors, yellows and pinks, and the impossibly rare blues. One only deals in antique cuts that have not been popular in 80 years. You learn what each of them wants. You hunt for it. You match the stone to the buyer. The fee for each transaction is a fraction of a percent, but the volumes are enormous. You do well. You do better than well. You buy a small apartment in a neighborhood where you used to walk past and stare at the windows. You hire a cleaner once a week. You buy your first suit that fits properly. You learn to recognize the difference between Italian leather and the imitations. You learn to taste wine without flinching. None of these things make you happy. They make you a different kind of person. You are not sure yet whether that is a trade you wanted to make. Level 6. The dealer. You are no longer just brokering other people's stones. You have your own inventory now. You buy on your own account. You take the risk. You take the reward. This is the moment when the math of the business changes for you completely. As a broker, you earned commissions. As a dealer, you can lose everything you own on a single transaction. Or you can make a year's wages in an afternoon. You travel constantly: Mumbai, Tel Aviv, Hong Kong, Dubai. You attend trade shows where the entire global industry compresses into a single convention center. The shows last 4 days. You sit in private rooms with men whose families were in this trade before any of the modern countries existed. You eat dinner with families who have been polishing stones since before the discovery of the New World. You learn the unwritten rules. A handshake means more than a contract. The phrase Mazel und Brucha is spoken at the close of a deal. It is more binding than any signature. To break your word in this trade is to end your career. The community is small. Word travels in hours. A man who is known to be unreliable cannot buy from anyone. He cannot sell to anyone. He becomes a ghost in his own profession. You guard your reputation more carefully than you guard your inventory. The inventory is replaceable. The reputation is not. You make mistakes. You buy a parcel of stones that turn out to be lower quality than you assessed. You sit on inventory for 2 years that you cannot move. You watch a market shift catch you on the wrong side. It erases 3 months of profit in a single week. But you survive. You learn from each mistake. You become careful in ways that younger you would not have understood. You also marry. Her name is Sarah. She is the daughter of a Hasidic dealer in New York. Her father did not approve at first. He approves now. You have 2 children, a boy and a girl. You watch them grow up in the kind of comfort you could not have imagined as a runner. They have music lessons. They have orthodontists. They have a yard. Your son once asks you what you do for a living. You tell him you sell beautiful things to people who want them. He nods and goes back to his homework. You realize that is the simplest answer you have ever given anyone. You also realize it is mostly true. Level 7. The Wholesaler. You opened your own firm. You have an office now, a real one, in a building with security and elevators. There are other firms and other offices doing other parts of the same business. Your name is on the door. You have employees, a bookkeeper, 2 junior brokers you are training the way you were trained, a receptionist who screens visitors. Not every visitor should be allowed past the front desk. You are a wholesaler now. You sit in the middle of the supply chain. You buy from the rough diamond producers. You commission cutting and polishing in workshops on 3 continents. You sell finished goods to retailers around the world. You take a margin on everything that flows through your hands. The volume is staggering. In a typical year, your firm moves stones worth several $100 million. The profit margins are thinner than people imagine, 2 or 3% on most transactions. Some years you make 5%. Some years you make almost nothing. Some years you lose money. The business is brutal at this level. Cash flow is everything. You may have $10 million in inventory. You still might not be able to make payroll because the inventory has not yet sold. Banks do not understand this business. Banks lend against assets they can verify and value. Diamonds resist that kind of valuation. The bank will lend you something, but never enough. You learn to manage cash the way a sailor manages water on a long voyage. You count it. You ration it. You always know exactly how much you have. You always know exactly how long it will last. You also learn that the business has a darker side. Nobody discusses it in polite settings. There are stones that come through channels that should not exist. There are buyers who pay in cash from briefcases. Those briefcases should not contain that much cash. There are lines that you have to decide whether you will cross. You have decided not to cross most of them. Some you have. You do not talk about that. You do not even let yourself think about it most days. There is a man in Dubai who calls twice a year. He has a buyer. The buyer wants stones with no paperwork. The price he offers is double the market rate. You said no the first 3 times. The 4th time, you said yes. You have not said yes since. You also have not said no. The phone keeps ringing. You keep letting it ring. Level 8, the manufacturer. You bought your first cutting and polishing facility in Surat, India. Surat is where 90% of the world's diamonds are cut and polished now. The workshops in Antwerp where you learned the craft are mostly museums at this point. The economics moved east 30 years ago and never came back. Your facility employs 400 people. They sit in long rows under fluorescent lights. They wear magnifying loupes over their eyes. They cut and polish stones that pass through their hands. The stones disappear into the global market. You pay them better than the facility next door. You pay them better than most facilities in Surat. This is partly because you remember what it was like to be the apprentice sweeping the floor. It is also because better paid workers make fewer mistakes. Mistakes at this scale cost more than wages. You are vertically integrated now. You buy rough from suppliers in Africa and Russia and Canada and Australia. You cut and polish in your own facility. You sell finished stones through your own distribution network. You have offices in 7 cities across 4 continents. You employ 80 people directly. You contract with hundreds more. You also have a problem you did not anticipate. The business is changing. Lab-grown diamonds have flooded the market. They are stones manufactured in machines that compress carbon under enormous pressures and temperatures. The conditions mimic the Earth's mantle. They are chemically identical to mined stones. They cost a fraction to produce. The young customers your retailers serve do not care about the distinction. They want the look. They want the price. The whole pricing structure of the natural diamond market is under assault. The big players are pretending it is not happening. You cannot afford to pretend. You start a separate division to handle lab-grown stones. The traditionalists in the industry call you a trader. You ignore them. You have a payroll to meet. You have shareholders. You have to read the market as it is, not as you wish it were. Level 9, the Magnate. You are 60 years old. You sit on the boards of multiple firms across the industry. You attend meetings of trade associations. They set the rules for how diamonds are graded, certified, traded, and disclosed. Your opinions are quoted in industry publications. Nobody outside the trade reads them. Everyone inside the trade reads them carefully. You have made decisions that have moved markets. You decided to liquidate inventory at moments that, in retrospect, defined the next 2 years of pricing. You decided to hold inventory through downturns that broke your competitors. You have been right more often than you have been wrong. You are also tired. The business has changed in ways the old men of your youth could not have imagined. The Russian rough that fed half the global market is now sanctioned. The Canadian mines are aging. The African producers are demanding more value retention in their own countries. Stones that used to be cut in India must now be cut in Botswana, or Namibia, or Angola. The Chinese consumer market that everyone counted on for a decade is contracting. The American consumer market is fragmenting. Lab-grown stones now account for the majority of engagement ring sales in the United States. You watch all of it from an office on a high floor. The view shows a city that you arrived in 40 years ago carrying nothing. You make decisions that affect thousands of people who work for your companies. Tens of thousands more depend on the industries you operate in. You also fly back to West Africa twice a year. You visit the village where you were born. You have built a school there. You have built a clinic. You pay for the salaries of the teachers and the nurses out of your own pocket. The official channels for that kind of money do not work. You walk through the village and the elders bow their heads. The young people stare at you. They do not know what to say. You are the impossible story they have heard about and never quite believed. You give a speech at the school every year. You tell the children to study. You tell them the world is bigger than they can imagine. You tell them what your boss told you when he handed you that first envelope. Show up. Don't ask questions. Walk. You do not tell them that some of these children will end up in the same pits you bought from 40 years ago. You hope they will not. You suspect some of them will. The world does not change as fast as people pretend it does. You have learned that the hard way. You have learned almost everything the hard way. The easy lessons in this business do not exist. If they did, somebody would have already taken them from you. Level 10. The Patriarch. The business is no longer your daily concern. Your son runs the firm. He has done so for the last 7 years. Your daughter runs the foundation. She has done so for the last 10. They are both better at their jobs than you were at theirs. You are 73 years old. You sit on a balcony overlooking a garden you did not plant. You drink tea that someone else made. You read newspapers in 3 languages. The world has shifted again. Synthetic stones now dominate the lower tiers of the market. The natural stone trade has consolidated into a luxury business. Engagement rings, tennis bracelets, statement pieces for the wealthy. The era of the diamond as a middle-class aspiration is fading. You watched it happen. You profited from the shift. You also wonder what was lost. You think about the apprentice you were at 23. The boy from the village who flew to Antwerp without speaking the language. He sweeps floors in a workshop that no longer exists. The masters who taught you are dead. Their children sell software. Their grandchildren do not know what a polishing wheel sounds like. You think about the runner you were at 19. He carries a package through a market in West Africa. His feet hurt. His shirt is too thin for the morning chill. He has no idea what is ahead of him. You wonder what he would think if he could see you now. You think about the miners. The men and boys standing knee-deep in muddy water, sifting gravel through wire mesh. Most of them are dead by 50. Some of them died in their 40s. Their pits have been worked out. The diamonds that came from their hands are now set in rings on fingers in cities they could not pronounce. You did not create this system. You inherited it. You worked inside it. You profited from its rules. You also tried, in the small ways that were available to you, to change some of those rules. The school in the village, the clinic, the wages at your facilities, the certifications you pushed for. You tell yourself it mattered. Some days you believe it. Some days you do not. Your wife Sarah sits beside you on the balcony. She is reading. She has read more books in the last 10 years than she did in the previous 50. You take her hand without looking. She squeezes back. Your grandchildren visit on weekends. They are 12 and 9 and 6. They know that grandfather made the family wealthy. They do not know how. They will not know for many years. When they are old enough, you will tell them the parts that matter. You will not tell them everything. Some things are not for telling. They are for carrying. You will carry them until you die. Somewhere right now, in a city in West Africa, a 19-year-old is being told something. He is told to be at a certain street corner at a certain time. He does not know who he will become. He cannot imagine the rooms he will sit in. He shows up. He picks up the package. He walks. The cycle continues.